Well, good afternoon, boys and girls.
Hi,
Welcome
everyone.
back to another episode of the Atheist Experience. Thank you for joining us on this ugly, wet, gray, rainy Sunday afternoon. We're here with another 90 minutes of, freestyle blasphemy for your viewing pleasure. This show is sponsored by Atheist Community of Austin, a nonprofit educational organization promoting positive atheism. Hi, how are you?
Hi.
We're fine. We're positive. And separation of church and state. I'm sorry,
This is our feel-good show.
Yeah, exactly. And separation of church and state. ACA holds weekly meetings every Sunday mornings, 10:30 a.m. at Hot Jumbo Bagels, 307 West 5th Street. That's downtown on 5th Street between Guadalupe and Lavaca. It's like a block west of Antone's. Except for the first Sunday of each month when we have our lecture series at First Cafeteria at North Cross Mall, and that starts at 11 o'clock. There's a brunch followed by a talk, and it's a lot of fun. I don't know who our next speaker is going to be. I hope to find out soon, but that will be, of course, I think January the 6th.
I believe
first
that's
Sunday.
right.
Okay. Let me see. The Non-Prophets, a brand new internet radio show sponsored by ACA, hosted by Jeff D. and co-hosted by Vic Farrow, or sometimes Russell Glasser, as yesterday. It can be heard every Saturday afternoon live on the atheistnetwork.com website. Your web browser will need the Real Player plugin in order to hear the audio stream. I listened to the show for the first time yesterday, and it was a lot of fun.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
yes.
It was great, and I got on the interactive. They don't have it set up to do live call-in yet, but there's a chat feature on atheistnetwork.com, and you can get on there and chat away. And it was really interactive and a ton of fun, and that's 2 in the afternoons every Saturday on atheistnetwork.com, and that's getting out nationwide. One of the guys I was chatting with yesterday during the show was from Washington.
Oh, fantastic.
And so, it's a way to kind of...
I believe it's even worldwide. I mean, it is
Well,
internet,
yeah,
but
I guess anybody who can log onto the site would get it. But that's the way it is.
mostly national listeners so far.
Right, to spread the non-gospel far and wide via the information superhighway. It's a great show. So there it is. Let's see. Godless Gamers meets every Monday evening at 7 p.m. at the home of Jeff and Manda D. For more information on that, well, that's our little weekly recreational game-playing get-together that has been going on for a couple years now. Board games, card games, lots of unhealthy food, and general fun. For information on directions, things like that, talk to either Jeff or Manda, or you could, on the Atheist-Gamers mailing list via the ACA website, if you were to sign on to that, you could find an archived post that probably has directions.
Great.
Also, the Atheist Happy Hour is another little meeting thing. Takes place Wednesday evenings, about 7:30-ish at Antonio's, still.
And they are only open until 10. So
okay.
It's kind of an early place, but most people get there about 7:30, and
that's midweek, so you got to go to work.
Come in whenever you can.
Yeah, people go to work anyway.
Right.
But that's a handy thing for people who can't make these bright and early morning meetings that we have. Although I don't make either lately, but that's just me. So that's Antonio's, which is at the corner of 183 and I-35. Okay, let me see what else. I
wanted to make a quick announcement about FERS. About the lecture series. Not in January. Martin's correct. We don't know yet who is going to be the January speaker, but I actually contacted a former professor of mine at UT, Professor John Rumrich.
Okay.
He is a Milton scholar, and he has agreed to address the group on February 3rd, it looks like. We talked about February. It may be a little bit later, but he appears to have given us at least a tentative yes, so... that should be an interesting lecture. John Rumrich, R-U-M-R-I-C-H.
Okay, on February 3rd. Okay, well, we just found out our February speaker. That's terrific. And do you know what what will he be speaking on?
His topic will be the Milton epic poem Samson Agonistes, and in particular the mass suicide that occurs at the end of that poem. So it's just a lighthearted mall Sunday,
fun for the whole family.
First cafeteria.
Good.
But it should be a very interesting lecture. He's a wonderful speaker, and his Poetry of Milton class is excellent.
Great. Well, all right. Well, very looking forward to that then. That'll be fun. Something different. Okay. let's see. I think that's pretty much does it for a lot of the announcements. I have some other more important announcements, but I want to get to those after the news.
Okay.
So why don't we go, first off, well, it makes sense to do this one now. As our regular viewers know, we have been sort of trying out our new co-host candidates. We have Mary here, of course. We've had David Price and Ashley Perrion. And now what we're doing is we're going to be rotating them back through the line, as it were. Mary has come on again today. And then we'll have David and Ashley back on to do the show one more time. And then after that point, I guess it'll be this Sunday and then the following 2 Sundays. And then after that point, there will be a vote put up on the ACA website there at atheist-community.org for, our viewers. Well, basically, all of our co-host candidates have been really brilliant and excellent, and they have a terrific presence on television, and it's great to have them on the show. And so Russell and I, faced with the agony of choice, have decided to wimp out completely and pass the buck to you folks. So that, because we have to look them in the face, and if they don't make it, and you guys don't, so that. So so in order to avoid any kind of like good wimps, we're gonna open it up to sort of public opinion, and let our viewers choose and make it all democratic and fun. So
vote for me, but no pressure. No.
Man, that's call to action. There. All right, can't do that. All right.
Just kidding.
Yes, I guess
I'm just not self-effacing today. Sorry.
Yeah, that's not what we're here for. All right, so that's that, and of course, for more information on our group, you can visit our lovely website at atheist-community.org, of course, or phone our voicemail 371-2911. So over to Mary for the news. What's happening in the world this week?
Well, our lead story. Louisiana school prayer. We have got an article from the Associated Press. Federal Appeals Court on Tuesday declared unconstitutional Louisiana's school prayer law, which evolved from allowing a moment of silent meditation in 1976 to permitting spoken prayer in public classrooms. The court voted 3-0, and the case was brought because the mother of a 9th grader sued the Ouachita Parish School Board because students had made fun of her son and another boy who did not participate in prayer, calling them atheist and devil worshiper.
Yeah, those two are the same thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. A week after James's ruling, the school board voted to stop student-led prayers over the intercom at West Monroe High School in a settlement reached with the American Civil Liberties Union. So this will be an ongoing case, I'm sure. Right. And in a related story, student-led graduation messages, which opponents call official school prayer in thin disguise, may continue in Jacksonville, Florida, high schools. The Supreme Court said Monday it will not review a lower court's ruling that found the policy constitutionally sound. Invocations and benedictions were allowed at Duval County, Florida's 15 public school graduations before a 1992 Supreme Court ruling that prohibited clergy-led prayers at public school graduations. And as we know in Texas, I don't know if we can announce the number on the air, but
I think we can. I'll
let you go. I know you had something on that.
I promised Russell last week that I would not editorialize at length during the news because I went into windbag mode on a couple of these and really kind of let it all hang out. But this, first off, getting back to just the very beginning of that article that you read, how was the school prayer being instituted in Louisiana in the first place? What they had, first off, was they got their moment of silent reflection, or whatever they call it. And then after that had been, that was in and that was going, and when nobody was looking, they amended that, to suddenly it became spoken prayer over the loudspeaker. So clearly, I think that this points to, it's patently obvious. All these little attempts at, to making it all seem sort of ecumenical. It's like, oh no, it's not really prayer, it's a moment of silence. You can do whatever you like during that time. No, that's just the ruse they use, to get it in the door, and then once it's in the door, then they'll just go whole hog with it, and it becomes, spoken, government-endorsed school compulsory prayer over a loudspeaker, and if you don't participate, you get called nasty names by your classmates. And, I'm sorry, that is not what our Constitution allows. Our government and our laws don't have the right, to put, especially children, in a position where they are being mocked or being made to feel unwelcome or unwanted, or even to the point of, perhaps, like physical, harassment could occur. The Santa Fe High School here in Texas, this was about a year ago when they had the big football game school prayer debacle and everything, and that was shot down.
But in Palestine, Governor Perry was there, commending the school for having school prayer.
Right. Well, I wonder what Governor Perry would have thought if he had heard the story in Santa Fe about, like, the Jewish boy who was a student at that school who was roughed up by some of his classmates for being, quote, a dirty Jew. Basically, they roughed him up. They told him they were going to hang him. Okay. Now, if this is the result, and of course the parents of the families who brought the suit against Santa Fe, they weren't atheist families. I think one was Catholic, and one, I believe, was some other Christian denomination, or it may have been a Jewish family. It was a Jewish family. Okay. So these were not irreligious households. These were not irreligious families bringing these suits. They just recognized, well, hey, you can't have this endorsement of one and not the other and have it be unfair. Well, these people had to sort of go into hiding because they were receiving death threats. Okay, which of course prompts the question, if prayer is this thing that makes you more virtuous, then why is it that people who support prayer are issuing death threats against people who oppose public prayer?
Right. And the other issue is,
it's crazy. It really shows this is not about freedom of religion. This is about control. It's about power. And it's just about buffaloing, just bulldozing people out of your way who don't agree with you. And that's not how we do business here.
And no matter what your opinion is on the matter, you need to think about, would you want to live in a religious state? I mean, if you have the governor who is saying prayer is okay, there are obviously certain Christian groups and individuals who don't believe that prayer ought to be allowed in school for the same reason that they believe that there ought to be a separation of church and state. However, it doesn't, the idea of prayer in the school essentially is allowing there to be a church or clergy state to exist in this country. And we have a constitution, folks.
Well, of course, the other thing that's objectionable about it, and of course, now, to answer your question, if you were one of those hardcore fundamentalist Christian families, well, they would say, yes, I'd love to live in a religious state. Of course, they don't see the downside.
But whose religion?
Right. Well,
their own.
Well, this was interestingly sort of illustrated in an incident that happened. I don't know if you have that news article. You probably don't, 'cause it's a couple weeks old. In Minnesota, there was a prison who hired a chaplain who was a Wiccan. And, the Christians hit the ceiling about this. And this was a perfect, and it's like, and they were like, well, we think that the majority should have, well, it doesn't matter if it's a chaplain. But this was a perfect example for these Christians to see what it would be like when the shoe's on the other foot. Because when they think faith-based, or when they think school prayer, or when they think anything having to do with religion in the public square, well, they just, they're very smug about it, and they just automatically assume it's going to be Christian in nature. School prayer will be, when they talk about school prayer, they mean Christian prayer.
Right.
They don't mean Jewish prayer, they don't mean Muslim prayer, they don't mean, Wiccan candle burning or whatever. No offense to my Wiccan, viewers out there, but I don't know what you guys do in your things, but you know what I mean. They think it's just going to be their thing, and then suddenly they have this opportunity of saying, "Well, we got now government endorsing a religion, and but it's not ours. We have suddenly a problem with that." That's the whole point. And of course, the final thing that is really, really objectionable about this whole school prayer issue is, of course, that they are completely distorting the fact that it's legal right now. Okay, it's 10,000% legal for any student in any school to pray whenever they feel like. It's not legal for the school as a taxpayer-funded government institution to say, all right, here's the prayer, everybody's gonna pray. Government can't do that. Government can't tell you how to pray, when to pray, whom to pray to, or any of that. Okay? So the prayer in school thing is already legal, but the kind of laws that they want to pass, the school prayer supporters want to pass, interfere with the rights of families. This is taking away the right of the parents to determine the religious instruction of the children, and it's putting it in the hands of the schools and the government.
That's right.
Saying now the schools are going to be responsible for your child's religious instruction. And if you want to instruct your child into a different religion, well, too bad. All right, and that is patently unconstitutional and un-American.
Right.
And so anyway.
So if you're interested in responding, we don't want to make this a call to action. It's completely up to you if you want to do this.
The Christians have got a have started a phone call campaign to this number.
And actually, this is through Governor Perry's office. So, but a lot of church groups apparently have called this number to voice their support for, yay, school prayer, we want it.
Now, if I were a guy who was going to call Governor Perry's office, just hypothetically, I would bring up a lot of the things that I just said. That, these are, I would certainly not wish to be rude or to be gruff or brusque, because they already have this opinion that, people who don't want, public mandatory religion are kind of unpatriotic anyway, so mean old people like us. Just point out, school prayers, it's completely legal for students to pray. This is about invasion of the rights of the family. This is, taking away parents' rights to monitor and to make decisions about their child's religious instructions, taking that right away from families and putting it in the hands of the schools and the government. Can't do that. It would be a law that would endorse one religion over other religions, in clear violation of the Constitution. And finally, it would be a law that would put some students in a position of being made outcast or pariah in their schools, being taunted, mocked, and possibly even beat up. Okay? You can't just, you might as well just make a law saying, anybody, by powers vested in us by the state of Texas, anybody who looks weird and wears black, you can just, kick their ass. Can't do that, sorry. So that would be what I would say if I were to call the number at the bottom of your screen. So there we are. But that's just it. But the Christians are calling this number, and they're calling it apparently in droves. This is not really a related story, but I did want to shift to focus a minute to world news and take a look at what's happening in Tehran. President Mohammad Khatami warned of a social explosion in Iran if hardliners in the government continue to stifle student dissent. This is from their official news agency, and they reported this on Monday. Quote, when the hardline establishment acts badly and is not responsive, gradually criticism turns into protest. This is President Khatami telling this to university officials and students. He went on to say, when universities protest against the establishment, it should be understood that there is a deficiency in the society. In a healthy society, opposition is recognized officially, legally, and safely. After Khatami's landslide victory in 1997, students regularly held street rallies against hardliners, demanding faster implementation of social and political reforms. But since late last year, there have been no large street protests by students, largely because of fears that participants will be arrested and because authorities have denied requests for permission to hold such rallies. Khatami's comments reflect an ongoing power struggle between the reformist camp he leads and hardliners who have used their control over the Iranian judiciary, police, and other unelected bodies to curb his plans to ease social and political restrictions. Okay, so this would be hardline fundamentalist Islam coming up against the people who want a more secular state.
Exactly. And
the students being the ones, interesting.
So that's something to consider. And
we don't realize how good we have it in this country. This is what chaps my hide about a lot of the people who just look. Well, you have to. No.
Sorry.
Just settle down there. Look, I mean, I am all for criticizing the morons in government whenever they do moronic things, which is quite frequently. But the fact is, though, we're very privileged to live in a country where we can have a show like this. And where people who disagree with us can have their little shows and their churches and their little meeting gathering places and what have you. I've lived overseas when I was a child, especially even in the Middle East. And I think a lot of people who have grown up kind of privileged here in this country, haven't been around, don't know how different it is in many places around the world. Like that, and what we take for granted is a thing that people are fighting constantly for and being arrested for and shot for, and something I see more people recognize that.
Indeed.
Onward.
And this is a story also from the Associated Press about fundamentalist Wahhabism coming to the U.S. And the lead of this is austere mosques, women relegated in the background, a puritanical faith that rejects change, a brand of Islam that drives the Taliban and influenced the young American who fought by their side, has taken root in the Mecca of modernism, America. Saudi benefactors who have broadly promoted Islamic culture in America have at times expected the donations to cultivate their particular strain of Islam, Wahhabism. And basically the article goes on to say that the degree to which that money from adherents of Wahhabism has brought influence has been the subject of debate, especially since the September 11th attacks. And in interviews with Newsweek magazine, John Walker, that was the young American guy from California who went to fight with the Taliban, and his parents have cited exactly those elements as attracting him to Islam, a path that led him into battle alongside the Taliban. Some Muslims in the San Francisco area, where Walker converted, say Saudi emissaries recruit students for that country's Islamic universities among American converts.
So Wahhabism is that the particular brand of Islam that the Taliban? Is that what?
I don't know if it's a particular brand of Islam that the
there's
Taliban...
there's the Shiites and the Sunnis, and
right,
there's different sects, and so I was just wondering if that was what the article was indicating.
Right. Basically what the article is about is the fact that Wahhabi donations to the U.S. mosques have been estimated in the millions of dollars over 20 years. So that's really what the story's about. It's not so much saying that Wahhabism is what the Taliban believes in.
Oh, I see.
Although there may be individuals within the Taliban who believe in that particular
just want to clear about that.
idea of religion.
But that's the fastest growing Islamic. Wahhabism in America is the fastest growing. The amount of donations that's coming in.
Right. It's just
being very large.
Right. Okay. It's a huge. It sounds like a huge organized, group.
And that's what this John Walker guy
money.
was into.
Right.
Okay.
Or he may not. I read the article in Newsweek about him.
His parents think.
And his parents think that may have been an influence, but basically, he didn't really say. John Walker didn't really say which, part of Islam he believes in, just that he believes in Islam, and he went there to fight for the Taliban. Right. At least that's how it turned out.
Oh, well, suck to be him right now.
Yeah.
Tell you. Oh, well. Okay, and what else? We have one call lined up. We're going to just hang on, let Mary finish the news first, though.
All right. Just got a couple more things here. On a more lighthearted note.
Oh, good.
There's a polygamous TV show in Egypt.
Sweet.
And it's called The Family of Hajj Metwali.
Is it a sitcom or what?
Yeah, well, it sounds like it, but it's not. It's actually a daily drama.
It's like soap?
Yes. Yes, it's like a soap opera. Okay. And basically it says Hajj Metwali has 3 wives and is considering a 4th. He's happy. His wives consider themselves lucky, and the soap opera about their fictional lives has set off a debate across the Arab world about polygamy, Islam, and love. Islam allows men to take up to 4 wives on the condition that he treat each equally. But critics argue that being fair to 4 women is impossible outside Metwali's charmed and fictional life.
Well, they have a point.
And essentially it goes on to talk about various folks who are both for and against that idea of polygamy being okay and them having a TV show about it. But Mustafa Moharram, the series scriptwriter, says he was happy he had succeeded in getting people talking. Quote, "I wanted to throw a stone in stagnant waters. I meant to push people to think and discuss relations between husbands and wives and the controversial issue of polygamy." And then he went on to say that he wanted to encourage marriage, and as he believes that the number of single people from both sexes is alarming. But get this. He said, quote, "Unmarried women suffer much more than the first, second, or even the 3rd wife." So.
Well, maybe in their culture that's true,
I suppose,
right?
I mean, well, but I don't know if I would generalize it that much.
Well,
maybe,
but what are they? Do they have the in this country? There's also opportunities open, and in that culture, would they have single women have more limited opportunities? I guess would be the question.
Well, one woman here says, quote, "I would kill my husband if he ever thinks of marrying another woman."
Well,
that's from,
goodness. Okay.
I know, that's a bit extreme.
Yeah.
But her name is Mahram Yahya Barkhwawi, a 35-year-old Jordanian homemaker. She says she enjoys watching the series as a well-produced drama, but hopes it doesn't encourage men to marry and marry again.
Well,
so just something to think about. And also, just incidentally, that's also from the AP. So just so if you want to look it up, you can see it.
Okay, let's talk to Kim. She's been holding for a bit.
Okay.
And hello, Kim.
Hi, Kim.
Hi, how's it going?
How you doing?
Good. How are y'all?
Fine.
Good.
Good to have you back on the phone. What's been going on?
I was kind of thinking the whole school prayer thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, yeah, I don't agree with it, but it's going on now. And just like you said, the same thing, you know. If you want to pray, they're not going to hit you over the head with a ruler, you know, if you look like you're praying. Mm-hmm. But it just kind of disturbs me because a few years ago we kind of had prayer circles everywhere around school. Downstairs, we have 2 levels.
Mm-hmm.
Downstairs, there'd be little like youth groups or something, and they were praying around like lockers and classrooms. And we got really mad and we shout things at them like, Jesus told you to get the hell out of my way, you know, because they're standing in front of our lockers or our classes and making us late. You know? Jesus told me to move your ass out of my locker. You know?
Well, maybe it won't win you too many friends and influence too many people that way, but yeah, I can certainly understand the frustration.
No, but it was very fun.
Well, right.
Because they're like, what? Because I think some of them actually believed me.
Oh,
So
it's high school.
it was a little funny. But, yeah, like I said, you know, if someone wants to pray, go for it. Just don't make me.
Yeah.
Okay, Kim, can I ask you something?
Go for it.
When you see that, do you feel pressured not to speak out about being an atheist or a non-believer? I know you've called many times, and by using the word atheist, I wanted to make sure that you do feel that way, that you're not an agnostic or some other
atheist.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't feel bad about myself not believing the same things they do. I wish they wouldn't take up my time. Like, I'm here to learn so I can get the crap out of here, you know, so I don't have to be in high school anymore. And they're kind of taking that time to do their little, church thing.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't bring my family to school, and, you know, we don't have dinner in the middle of the living room or the hallway or something. You know, it's the same thing, just certain things you keep at home.
Yeah, and these are things, are these like these little prayer circles, like, I guess, around the flag, are these like before hours, after hours, between classes, or just all through the day?
Well, it was like 2 years ago. They used to have them before class. But it took, I guess, a few of them took a little longer than class started or whatever, and they'd get like free passes to go into class and not be counted tardy. So a lot of people started doing that.
Oh, okay.
Just so they wouldn't be counted tardy.
See, now that's interesting because, so right there it's being abused. Again, now the students of their own volition, you know, holding little prayer circles or around the lockers or the water cooler or whatever, now that's legal, that's constitutionally protected. But what's happening is if the school is allowing prayer circles or prayer activities as acceptable for tardiness, that could be entering into a weird gray area. See what I mean?
I don't know. They just stopped doing that after a while.
Yeah, because that might be getting uncomfortably close to a separation violation.
Yeah, I guess they realized that because they stopped doing that. That was my sophomore year. I'm a senior now, and I haven't seen it since.
Okay, so maybe somebody, you know, on the legal team said, guys.
Yeah, they still do that. See you at the pole thing, which for some reason, I don't know why that bothers me, but it does, because it's like, they get to, you know, hang around the pole and pray, and it's like, okay, so what's up with that? We don't have any special see you at the no pole. Yeah, well,
you know, there are probably other secular students in your school who are hiding, you know. It'd be nice to maybe get some of the secular students together around the pole one day and just have a little, you know, day of being secular, and you know, that's just, you know, and you would have as much right to do that as a lot of it is, you know, again, this is getting into what's a person's right and what's not. Again, they want to do that, that's fine, on their own time. It's not interfering with school. School's not endorsing it. Okay, there's no problem legally. I think that a lot of it is it's kind of showboating. You know, it's the public displays of religion. I think are, in many ways, people engage in these in a way to sort of look pious to everyone else. It's like, oh, look at me and look at what a pious person I am. I'm so good, I'm so holy, I'm praying, look at me in public, I'm in this prayer circle. Aren't I a good person? It's wanting to be seen and wanting to be part of the thing.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, in Scripture, I think Jesus Christ is said to have recognized this, and he had something to say about, you know, the hypocrites who grandstand in public with their prayers, when he suggests what you should do is go into your closet or into your little private area and pray silently. And so that's often, you know, that's an interesting little, you know, bit of Jesus' teachings that they like to ignore, especially if there are TV cameras present. too. So
Yeah, we had kind of a running gag where every time we'd see each other in the hallway, it's like, I'll see you at the Pepsi bottle. You know, we just made stuff up, or I'll see you at the Notebook. You know, I'll be there. You know, we just like to make fun of it because, you know, other than just get mad and be like, oh, we had these rights, you know, we're just going to be like, I'll pray for your locker.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, don't make it any more of a big deal than it needs to be.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, well, y'all take care.
Hey, it's always great to hear from you.
Thanks,
All right,
Kim.
bye.
See ya. Kim's one of our regular callers. Sounds like a real sweet person. So you have a couple. I'm going to take David's call really quickly because he's been holding. Hello, David?
Yes, hi.
Hi, you're on the air. How you doing?
Oh, doing fine, thanks.
Good.
Just wanted to make a point. It was sort of related also to, I know last week morals in religion was discussed, and how that you know, the absence of religion is the absence of moral values, is the way a lot of Christians seem to pitch it. Mm-hmm. And it seems to me that the whole school prayer, whenever a politician pulls that out of the hat, what he's saying is, well, if we prayed in schools, then, you know, little Johnny's going to quit taking drugs, and teen pregnancy is going to drop, and suddenly all these moral values will be installed by Christianity. And to me, it seems that whenever you start looking to religion for your moral values, the next thing you know is homophobia increases. There are a lot of hate values that tend to come with a pious Christian attitude. And I don't really think school's a place for that. Shunning, if a young woman chooses to have an abortion, when you get a religiously charged atmosphere, you know, that quickly turns into a sinner, unclean type of situation.
Right, especially when you don't know what the circumstances might be involved.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, it's the woman could have been raped. Woman could have some sort of life-threatening condition that carrying the pregnancy to term, you know, could kill her. You don't know. That's not always what happens in every case, but still, you know. Mary, did you have an opinion on?
Well, yeah, I would just have to concur with what Martin said. You know, I think that religion is a great simplifier, you know, in many ways, where I mean, my own personal opinion is if you have religion in your life, you really don't need to think about what may be beyond this life, you know, if anything. And again, I mean, I would be first in line to believe in God if I saw some evidence of it. But personally, I don't see any evidence, and so, you know, I definitely don't want to see prayer in the schools or, you know, anybody feeling compelled to believe in a particular religion.
And being mocked and threatened if they refuse to decline to participate for their own particular reasons.
Right, and it's a quick fix for the politician. It's a way to drum up votes for what's pretty much a meaningless act.
Pandering. That's all it is. It's just pure.
The same old smoke and mirrors. But all right, well, thank you very much for taking my call.
Thanks, David.
Good to hear from you, David.
Goodbye.
Thanks. That's line 2. We'd like to remind, of course, all of our unbelievers in the peanut gallery that we do have our bagel shop meetings Sunday mornings is at 10:30 a.m. Hot Jumbo Bagels. It's yummy stuff. It's 307 West 5th Street. They've just thrown up this enormous skyscraper right next door. It's a tiny little bagel shop in this high-rise condo. So lots of fun. Those meetings are open only for unbelievers. And you're welcome to come out and, you know, hang with some of us and see if you like what ACA has to offer or not. Even if you don't, come and hang out anyway. We have a couple more callers waiting. I'd like to get. Do you have anything else? And if you don't,
I do. But I'll wait on it.
Okay.
Let's go
Well,
ahead and take
then,
calls.
because I wanted to go
do you
ahead.
have one too?
Well, I
Okay.
wanted to get to the very important announcements
Okay.
because it was going to segue into the whole school prayer thing, but our callers have kind of kept that thread going. Well, a couple of big events coming up tomorrow. So I know this is short notice. A group of Christians in Palestine, Texas, which is about 2.5–3 hours from here, are going to hold, you know, this is where Governor Perry had his big, you know, his whole pro-school prayer, you know, thing, and you know, made such comments as, you know, well, we all worship the same God anyway, so who would have a problem with this? Well, I guess the people from the church there, the big Baptist church there in Palestine, is a very religious, very East Texas town. They're nice folks, but very religious, very traditional, very conservative.
Most of them, I guess.
Yeah, they're going to have a little pro-school prayer rally in front of a church there, and that's going to be starting at 7 p.m. tomorrow. And prior to that, an hour before, there's going to be a counter-protest, a church-state separation supporters. I think this is being put together by Shelly Hatton of the Texas Freedom Coalition. That's going to be starting about 6 o'clock, and so anyone who wants to go to that, unfortunately I don't have contact. I guess you can get on get information from Texas Freedom Network or Coalition. I believe it's Texas Freedom Network.
I think it's Network.
Yes, I think, no it's not?
It's not?
We're not, okay, it's one of those.
Or you could get on the Atheist web list.
That you could too, but that's happening like tomorrow in Palestine. Wish I had more notice of it to give folks who might want to participate in that, and hopefully it remains a civil sort of a non-hairy thing. Just in case it doesn't, if you're on the pro-church-state separation side, take cameras. I would suggest and to document any weirdness that might occur. But that's going to happen tomorrow. A little counter demonstration for the people who think that forcing people to pray, especially children, to pray is a good thing. Also, coming up in January, which approximately the 12th, I don't think that Michelle, our co-chair, has a definite date, but the ACA is going to sponsor here in town a little church-state separation rally on the Capitol steps, and there will be speakers. And this is to commemorate the 200th anniversary of Thomas Jefferson's famous letter to the Danbury Baptists, in which he sort of set the tone for what the separation of church and state really means. This is the letter in which the term wall of separation, referring to separation of church and state, was first really introduced into the kind of the common dialogue of the country. ACA has contacted Mayor Gus Garcia to try to get a proclamation making January like official church-state separation month or something. And so we have to hear back from him. Haven't heard back yet. I'm sure he's busy with the holidays and everything. He's not like he's a good guy and blow us off or anything. But that's going to happen around about the 12th. As it gets closer to the date, we'll bring people more detailed information, times, who's going to be there, if they're going to be speakers, what have you. And if our callers will hang on, here's what I want to read. This is what we are commemorating. This is a letter very brief, it's a letter from Thomas Jefferson, our fine founding father, to the Danbury Baptists. This was dated January 1st, New Year's Day, 1802. There I am. And anyway, the Danbury Baptists had written Jefferson asking for some sort of, presidential endorsement of their, of religion and what have you, and he responded, "The affectionate sentiments of esteem and approbation which you are so good as to express towards me," so he's thanking them for kissing up, "on behalf of the Danbury Baptist Association gave me the highest satisfaction. My duties dictate a faithful and zealous pursuit of the interest of my constituents, and in proportion as they are persuaded of my fidelity to those duties, the discharge of them becomes more and more pleasing." So he's like, I'm happy to, help. "Believing with you that religion is a matter which lies solely between man and his God, that he owes account to none other than that he owes account to none other for his faith or his worship, that the legitimate powers of government reach actions only, and not opinions, I contemplate with sovereign reverence that act of the whole American people, which declared that their legislature should, quote, make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, thus building a wall of separation between church and state. Adhering to this expression of the supreme will of the nation, in behalf of the rights of conscience, I shall see with sincere satisfaction the progress of those sentiments which tend to restore to man all his natural rights, convinced he has no natural right in opposition to his social duties." In other words, religion being a personal, private, and very important matter to the adherents of religion, it is inappropriate for government to stick its little nose in it. That's basically what he's acknowledging here. "I reciprocate your kind prayers for the protection and blessing of the common Father and Creator of man." So again, Jefferson was not an atheist, but he was a deist and a belief in sort of a natural religion, as it were. "And tender you for yourselves and your religious association assurances of my high respect and esteem." Thomas Jefferson, January 1st, 1802. So this was a religious man, not traditionally religious, not a practicing fundamentalist Christian, but not disrespecting people of other faiths, saying very clearly, it's a private matter, it's too important to the individual for the government to meddle in it. Individual rights, as per our Constitution, are the most precious things we have. Therefore, I can't do any sort of government endorsement of one group over another group. It has to be private with the citizens. It would be inappropriate to interfere. That's what it's about. That's what church and state is about. You will hear the ministers and Falwell and Robertson and all these guys with their rhetoric making it sound like separation of church and state is all about, banning God and throwing all the Christians in jail and blah, 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 blah. And that's fear-mongering, okay? And it's just, appeal to hysteria, and it's not what it's about. Your separation of church and state protects your faith. It doesn't oppress your faith. So please, understand that. Thank you. This is your public service message from us. All right, so who's next? We have Shelly on 3, has been holding for a very long time. We appreciate that. Let's go to her. Shelly?
Yes.
Hey, sorry to keep you waiting.
That's okay, no problem. This is actually the first time I've called into your show. I've watched it a few times. And I'll tell you right off the bat that I am Christian. Mm-hmm. However, as far as the school prayer thing goes, I don't agree with it being implemented to make it mandatory. When I was in school, we used to do Pledge of Allegiance to the flag every morning, and then our teacher would give us like 5 or 10 minutes of just quiet time. So pretty much during that time, whatever you wanted to do, you could do. If you wanted to, bow your head and pray that, you live a happy life, or you pass your test in 5 minutes, or, your friends wanted to sit there and think, wow, I really need to wash clothes today, whatever, it didn't matter. Mm-hmm. And I think that because you're right, you can't have church and state become one thing. At the same time, like I think a previous caller said something about, what did he say? Just about, apparently a lot of the Christians he's dealt with have had a pious attitude. Like, in other words, if you're not Christian, then you're not worth anything. Well, people have to understand that... Not
everyone's like that.
Exactly. Yeah. And that, you are human, and you do have free will, and there are a lot of great people who don't believe in God, and there are a lot of great bad people that do believe in God. And it's the concept within itself that teaches you to love no matter what. Mm-hmm. And I've had best friends that have had horrible experiences. I've had friends that have had an abortion. I've had friends that are atheists. That doesn't make me love them any less because I love them for who they are. They don't try to impose their beliefs on me, and I don't try to impose my beliefs on them. We discuss them amongst each other, and I trust them enough to be able to make their own decisions. So, I think it's great that you guys at least put out a point of view so everyone can examine everything. Mm-hmm. And that way no one is pushing their beliefs on anything. And, it's definitely not my place above anyone to judge anyone else because that's not my job. I was always taught growing up that, we can't judge because we're not perfect. No one is without sin, period.
Right. No, I understand, and I appreciate, that attitude. Would that some others of our Christian callers would be quite, quite as forbearing. But you're right. Everyone's individual. And tell me something. What is your opinion? And, since you seem to be very much of a live and let live sort of person, of politicians who play the religion card, as it were. Are you offended by them? Do you think they're just trying to pander to get votes, or do you think it's right that what they're doing, or is it sincere, insincere? What's your general opinion?
When it comes to politicians, to me that's just like a rock star. I'm not going to listen to anybody that's in a certain space or title tell me how to live my life.
But these people make our laws, though.
Exactly. And I don't agree with them having to implement saying, because I think that the previous caller was right. I think they do try to play it up as their trump card because they're going for that, the era that my parents came from where it was God and country and that's all there was, and they want to try to get that crowd of voters. And since they do make the laws, we do have to keep a separation of church and state because it is in the Constitution. That's what the country was built on. Mm-hmm. So, no, I don't agree at all with them trying to sway people just for their own personal gain. Mm-hmm. I think a good example that I can think of, just off the top of my head, is a lot of people may not like him, but President Bush. I think he is
the current one, or the
current one, not the 1,000 points alike guy, but the one that we have now.
Okay. mini-me?
Exactly, big difference. I think he had a very wild upbringing. He was a crazy guy in college. He did a lot of really unruly things, and then now he's a Christian, but he doesn't push that on anybody.
Yeah.
When he's giving speeches.
Well, I've never, really been a wild drunk partier myself.
Exactly. But the point is that a lot of the fire and brimstone Christians would look at him like, okay, well. But see, I'm not. I don't think that. I think that their relationship with God is personal, and only He is going to know their heart. But at the same time, He has a wonderful way of expressing to bring everyone together, regardless of your belief.
Well,
and
see,
religion.
Okay, I would take exception.
take issue with that.
I take issue with you on some of that too. I mean, I agree with you that he's, certainly sincere when he talks about his own beliefs. I think that he has in the past, though, he's had some kind of nasty bedfellows. For example, are you familiar with an organization called Roll-Off Homes? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you know about their little sordid history and what? Right. Okay. Well, they were under indictment for horrendous instances of child abuse, and they had their funding revoked by the state, and George Bush machinated events, so that they could get money again, after they had already been investigated and found to be guilty of all of these crimes. And so Bush has not, I don't think, always been in acting in the best interests of people.
No.
And frankly, I think that he is one of these folks that doesn't see things the way you see it. He is. I think that he would really, he would be right in bed with Governor Perry in terms of saying, no, we got to get these back. Get the prayer back in the schools, get the Ten Commandments back in public buildings, publicly funded buildings. So yeah. You're giving him the benefit of the doubt, and I understand, and I can understand why you would, but I'm sorry, I just don't agree. I think that he...
Well, at the same time, though, if you notice, I think it's awful convenient that after the 9/11 thing now, they're trying to really pounce on this because everybody is searching for answers, and everybody is searching for something.
Yeah,
and, they're pouncing on that to try to, sway people, because there are a lot of people out there that are really upset at what happened, and, I think it's unfair to try to use God as a convenience.
Exactly,
it should be your own personal choice, and it shouldn't be put upon you by anybody.
And we're saying, and what I was saying was that politically, I think that's exactly what George Bush is up to.
Exactly.
Personally, he might be, I'm not doubting the sincerity of his beliefs on a personal scale, but I think that he does not respect the constitutional freedoms that you respect, clearly.
And excuse me, but if he doesn't give a damn about, the Constitution, and to say that it's okay for these programs of faith-based initiatives to be implemented without anybody being able to even take a vote on it. I mean, I know that these issues are going to come up, many, many times.
Yeah,
but,
seriously, under Bush's faith-based initiative, how likely is it that, there are a lot of religions out there. I mean, would a Scientologist organization be able to get money under Bush's faith-based initiative? Somehow I think not.
That's why I think that they should not, like I said before, they should not make it mandatory on their belief alone. I mean, that's one of the things that turns people off to Christianity, is because it's always shoved down their throat. And, or for anything for that matter. If you're not given an array of things to look at and to study on your own, and you just have somebody constantly push it in your face, well, you're going to turn away from it. And so I don't think that it's right for them to do that, to push. I don't think it's right for the Scientologists to get in, and go crazy and tell everybody what they believe. And
well, if they're doing it with their own money and on their own time, you have the right. I mean, everybody has the right to stand on a street corner and rant.
Right, exactly. I'm just referring to the fact of, like, if he was a Scientologist saying, okay, we're going to, take favor with this particular group. I mean, everybody deserves to be given the same thing. If you're going to give all the Baptists, which I am, if you're going to give them a whole bunch of money to do this with, then you're going to have to be fair with everyone else, regardless of what he believes or not.
Right. Well, I'm sorry.
No, it's all right.
I was just going to say that that's not a point that I think George W. Bush has considered.
Right, and have no have no illusions about that.
Yeah,
man. He is not middle of the road. By any stretch of the imagination. He is not condoning what you're saying, which is we ought to be tolerant and inclusive of many different beliefs. I mean, this man clearly knows what he believes in, and he has no desire whatsoever to defend that for the rest of the country.
You know,
and like I said, I think personally that Christianity is all about tolerance. I mean, I think that it's all about loving your fellow man, and that's my personal opinion. And a lot of Christians maybe listen to this right now going, that girl's crazy, what is she talking about? She's giving us a bad name.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's what I think it's about.
Right. Well, we could get into a doctrinal dispute now, but we do have to move on to other callers.
But thanks for
okay.
calling.
But we do appreciate your point of view and your time, and thanks for watching the show. Call back anytime.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Yes. Yes. Well, no. Just really quickly, though, no religion that preaches unbelievers are going to burn for all eternity is tolerant of others. Yeah, that's not about tolerance at all.
And there may be people within the Christian faith who don't believe that, but let's face it, that's kind of the ultimate message.
Yeah. Well, Shelly. Well, you know, Shelly's clearly a very nice person and a good, fair person, but it's interesting to me listening to her call because she does illustrate, how it is that, you know, individual people will tailor their religious beliefs and the way they practice their religion just based upon their own personalities and preferences and prejudices to begin with. She's a nice person, okay? So to her, Christianity is this really nice thing where everybody loves everybody and we all get along and it's great.
Right.
To Jerry Falwell, or to Fred Phelps.
Pat Robertson.
To Fred Phelps, the guy who has the GodHatesFags.com website, Christianity is all about killing fags, okay? So now you can say, well, you know, but it's all about, well, you know, that person's warping his beliefs, and you know, like all the Islamic people in the Islamic faith who are saying, well, Osama bin Laden's not a real Muslim. He's warped his beliefs into something horribly perverse that allows him to kill people. Yeah, but you know, see, that's the thing about when you have a supernatural belief system that's ill-defined to begin with. Well, there you go. I mean, it's a room for whatever sort of interpretation, you know, you want to put to it. You can look at these scriptures and look at them one way and say, this says this to me, and another person says, no, it doesn't say that, it says this, and then you go off and you do your thing, and you can use the, you know, use the belief as an excuse for pretty much whatever you had made up your mind to do in the first place. So yeah, but anyway, that's that doctrinal dispute.
And we have some other callers.
Do we now?
We do.
Oh my goodness, there they are. Well, let's have a look. Okay, DT is on line one. Thanks for DT.
Hi.
Hi. Thanks for holding.
Yeah, I was listening to the other caller, and personally, I next to totally agree with her. And I also sort of agree with you. I am a Christian, and I do base my beliefs around my personal beliefs, my religious beliefs around my personal beliefs, because I am a Christian, yet my personal and political beliefs are just slightly right of communism.
Okay.
So I mean, I personally absolutely hate Bush. I hate his faith-based initiative. And personally, I'm against the school prayer. I was with the see you at the poll, as the earlier caller said.
Well, I don't know that I'd call that communism, but, you know.
I was with it, but that I sort of adopted my beliefs after I found out that I understood that Muslims weren't allowed in that whole deal, and that really pissed me off.
You mean the Bush faith-based thing was...
Yes, the fact that, one, if they're giving the whole prayer hour or minute or whatever the hell you want to call it, a silent time. And Muslim people, when they do pray, they're supposed to pray aloud, and that sort of does violate that right.
Kind of.
And I mean, it's total bullshit. If I can't say that right now,
kind of so, you know,
I'll just tone it down.
We don't have a strict, hard and fast rule about language, but we like to be. You know.
All right.
If you want to swear all you like, listen to our internet radio show.
Actually, I have before.
Okay.
Good.
Oh, good. All right.
Yeah, I did that on Alex Jones's show once, and he got really ticked off at me.
Yes.
But
Alex has called our show on occasion too.
Yeah, but what I honestly, I do respect your show. I respect other people.
Thanks.
I mean, I'm not too uptight. I've met Jerry Falwell and I've met Pat Robertson. They're both total idiots.
We would agree with that.
All right. Well, we think you're on the right track. Just keep moving that way, and you know, we think we'll hold out hope for you yet, my friend. Anyway, anything else for us?
Yes, actually, I wanted to call you. I wanted to give you some ammunition.
Wow.
There's a website that you need to check out called FARC.com, FARK.com.
Wow.
And they consolidate national and international news, different countries, very cynical. It's awesome.
Huh.
Thank you for that.
All right,
Yeah.
good. Well,
and another one. Have you ever heard of a book called Holographic Universe?
No.
That other dude, I forgot his name, who always wears those suspenders on your show. I forgot his name.
That was Jeff, and he's...
He came up with the point that he was talking about the point where there's a doctor in Europe somewhere who has a machine that when they attach a couple electrodes to your head, it gives you this
Gives you these, these
supernatural
dissociative,
this book essentially explains all that and the entire history and science of it, and the chemical need and the psychological need for a higher belief and higher God.
Oh, is this like the sort of the God part of the brain type thinking of? Yeah, I'm really familiar with that book. I'm not familiar with Holographic Universe.
It's a really good book. I suggest you read it.
Interesting. Okay, well, appreciate the recommendation, and great. Well, you have a great day, man.
All right, you too.
Take care. Okay.
Interesting.
He's almost there.
Yeah, just a little nudge.
Yeah, so he's interesting to meet. I would feel so unclean if I met Jerry Falwell. You know? I mean, I would just be so like, ew, you know, just sort of like,
You're so mean.
Yeah, you know, it'd be like, you know, well, let's have a look. It's just, and the calls keep coming. It's just too much fun. We'll talk to Bobby and see what.
Mine too, right?
Well, no, that's the release button. We don't want to hang up on it.
Okay.
Hello, Bobby.
Hey, how y'all doing?
We're
Bobby.
good. Thanks for calling. What's up?
Well, I just wanted to say I'm going to go on kind of opposite ends of the track there, what your other callers are talking about.
Okay.
I don't claim any religion, period.
All right.
To me, it's all too hypocritical.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I don't want to be a hypocrite either. I am a spiritual person, but I don't call it any particular that crap.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But the one thing I will say, I'm a recovering alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I pretty much came in here pretty much of an agnostic.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas as to say that what everybody else does, including you people, is y'all's own thing. You know, more power to you.
Okay.
But by the same token, where I come from, I don't want to stand back and say, well, I try not to judge and then judge somebody else automatically right off the bat, like I've been hearing.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's real simple. Whatever works, works. What don't work, don't work. Plain and simple as that.
Right.
And I don't care, again, I don't give anybody ammunition for nothing. I just kind of like, they say, you don't judge, from what I've been told anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's like y'all's thing y'all doing there. If it works for you, just keep on rolling.
Well, I would
keep on going.
I would add some qualifications to what you're saying. There are things. I mean, there are things that are true and things that aren't true in the wide world of facts, right? Like our position is, you know, either there's a God or there isn't. I mean, it would be a matter of fact. You know, there is a God, there is not a God. One of those propositions is true and the other isn't, and we don't know which one of those is the true one. But it is a matter of fact. And so, you know, now we disbelieve in God because we don't consider that there's any credible evidence at this time. But, you know, it's not like, but that would not be a situation of, you know, well, you know, if there is a, you know, it's okay, you know, it's one thing is, you know, it works for you and doesn't work for me and doesn't, you know, and that doesn't work for me and this does work for you. That can, you know, there are some instances where that's appropriate, but I think if you're talking about in terms of what is actually factual, then I think that there are things that, you know, those are things that people have to concede to. And if a belief just doesn't stand up to scrutiny and isn't factual, you know, doesn't really have any strong basis in fact, then it's irrational to continue to believe in it. And I know a lot of people for whom Christianity seems to work, in terms of there's a degree of maybe emotional satisfaction that they get out of it. But, you know, if the Christian God makes no sense and can be shown to be highly, highly improbable to exist, you know, then regardless of whatever degree of like happiness or satisfaction or emotional comfort they're getting out of the belief, if it isn't true, it's irrational. And, you know, what's better, to just live a life based upon, you know, all things being equal, is it better to believe things that are true, or is it better to believe things that aren't true? And so that's where I would kind of stand on that. I wouldn't take this sort of, I'm kind of made a long-winded, you know, circuitous path to my point, but, you know, is it really good to just sort of say to everyone as a general principle, hey, whatever works, works for you. If it doesn't work for me, it doesn't work for me, but that's fine if it works for you. Mm-hmm. It's not about disrespecting other people's beliefs, but there's a certain point where you kind of have to, you know, belly on up to the bar and, you know, just kind of, you know, just see what you...
I can understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
and the main thing I have for a fact there is it's been keeping me sober for over 2 years.
Is that, are you, Bobby, can I ask you, are you more taking the position of live and let live, a lot like what AA...
Exactly.
Okay, yeah.
To the extreme, I guess you can
Yes,
say.
okay.
That's about what my personality is when it comes together.
Yeah, but you kind of see the point that I was driving at.
Yeah, I mean, don't...
There are things that work for people, but that I think are clearly objectionable. and I'm sure they would be objectionable to you too. I mean, there are skinheads for whom it really, really works to be racist, and stuff like that. And I wouldn't condone that. I wouldn't think that that would be a good way to live one's life. You know, believing things about people in other races, that aren't true. But now I wanted
You're
to just
intellectualizing it too much. That's what I do differently. I keep it very simple.
Yeah. Well, would that it were. I just don't see it as being, I guess, quite that simple. But what's interesting is now you said you were agnostic, but spiritual.
I guess you could say that. Yes, I have a belief in something, but I don't put a name to it totally.
Okay. And it's vague, but it's kept you sober for years.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, great. I mean,
How is it that you think that works for you? How is it that you feel you're...
Well, it's real simple. Whenever I come to believe in a higher power, I don't worry about, I've heard the Bible used here at one time. Mm-hmm. I don't worry about taking the fish from the egg or the chicken from the egg or any of that stuff that goes on with it literally. Mm-hmm. It's just believing in something that I believe, and if it works for me, that's all that matters. I mean, I don't try to dissect it. Yeah. I keep it severely simple, almost to a pain.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's okay. I would describe you possibly as being agnostic theist. Okay, like agnosticism means you don't know whether or not there's a God, but because you are more inclined to entertain the notion of a higher power as opposed to not, you're leaning closer to theism than atheism. So
agnosticism. Agnosticism just means you don't know.
Yeah, agnosticism and atheism. This is a distinction that a lot of people don't understand. The terms kind of refer to two different things. Mm-hmm. The term gnosis means knowledge, and so that's the root word. And agnosticism and Gnosticism are terms that refer to human knowledge and the limits of it, whereas theism and atheism have to do with what you believe about that topic. So you could be agnostic I'm agnostic in the terms of I admit, hey, I don't know for an absolute incontrovertible fact whether anything that could possibly be called a God could possibly exist anywhere in the universe at all. Possibly. Okay? I mean, I don't have a firm knowledge of that as a fact. Now, I'm an atheist in that I don't believe there's a God because I don't see credible evidence. Now, and I've spoken to a lot of people who are agnostic in that, as like yourself, hey, I don't know, I don't claim to know, but I believe there's a higher power. So I would describe you as being agnostic theist, and it would be. And that's not saying you believe in God with a capital G or any particular religion's God, but the concept of a higher power is a thing that you take, that you give credence to, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So that's theism, more or less. So okay. Now I understand how that can get. I understand that people can get through crises in their lives, and I'm glad that you've been sober for all that time, and I congratulate you for that. But there are folks who are able to get through crisis situations without that sort of thing too. So it does depend on the individual.
Like I said, whatever works.
Yeah. All right. Well. Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks for your time. We got other callers to get to. Yeah. It's hard for me to put my finger on what really bugs me about the vagueness to me. Seems like kind of not, and again, I'm not taking him seriously when he says that it has worked for him in the terms of it's given him emotional strength to stay off the alcohol and what have you. But, it just seems to me that you can't really have any sort of a valid or verifiable overall arching life philosophy based on something that's just kind of real iffy, So, I'm not quite sure I understand Jeff's editorial comment in the thing, but it's, I don't know. I think that's, this is why I'm uncomfortable with the whole notion of belief in general, because it gets you into these funky little gray areas where you can't really define stuff. And
I think ultimately, if you believe in something, if you believe in any kind of higher power, what you're really saying is, I don't need proof. I just believe.
Well,
and I mean, maybe for Bobby, the proof is that he's still sober.
Yeah, well.
But again,
it'd be interesting for me to know what program he went, or if any, that he went through in order to get over his alcoholism.
AA stresses belief in a higher power.
Yeah, and I think that, which again, it's that general sort of, buffet, whatever works for you sort of, I just think it's more sensible to kind of base how you think about things in life on what the facts are as you see them. Okay, and I think what Bobby's, Bobby's not giving himself credit. I mean, I think he made a determination to get over his alcoholism, and his addiction, and he did it. And I think that what I object to in these programs, that advocate some sort of a higher power belief or what have you, is they tell you, no, you can't, and religion does this, of course, you can't get through these crises in your life unless there's some higher power, leading you by the hand. You can't do this on your own. You can't really think your way out of a situation and make a game plan and stick to it. And just do it if you really want to do it and have the willpower to do it.
Right. No, I understand what you're saying. I'm right there with you. And,
I mean, religions actively tell you that you can't do it. I mean, I've had Christians tell me, I just can't get through a crisis in my life without, I couldn't have gotten through this if I didn't have my belief in God. I couldn't have done this, I couldn't have done that. Wrong. You can do whatever you want, okay? This is religion's way of making you dependent on itself. It's a way of sort of taking away the free will that they claim is such a great important thing that God gives you, and saying, you can't do this on your own because it's too tough. You got to have, without the power of prayer, or the power of God, or the power of this.
Let's see what our callers have to say. Our lines are lit up again, but I'm glad he called, and I'm glad we can talk about it.
I'm glad he called, and I'm sorry that I've been kind of, talking in a waffly fashion, but it's so hard to really pinpoint kind of these vague overall, bland beliefs that,
Oh, not release.
Whatever. No, I don't want to hang up on the guy. Who's next? Our next call will be
Max.
Willie on 3?
Oh, Willie 3. Yeah,
okay,
right.
so we've had everyone holding. Thanks for holding. Hello, Willie?
Yes.
Hi.
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 How are you doing?
Oh, I'm fine, and you all?
Good.
I'm listening, and I just said I do believe in God, and my opinion is about sim school. I've been going to sim school with my grandchildren, just observing the breakfast in the mornings, and they don't have prayer, but
Sims Elementary?
Yes.
Okay.
And I feel like if they're going to get up before they finish their breakfast and say, I pledge allegiance to the flag, I feel like it's appropriate for them to, say the prayer. That's my opinion.
Okay.
And I'll always believe in God because He has brought me from a mighty long ways. And in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth.
Right. Well, we've heard that. Yeah, we're familiar with that.
If you don't believe, that God exists. I was talking to my friend, and she said, well, as far as the stars and the moon, I'm saying this, as far as the stars and the moon and the sunshine that comes out, and we have nothing to do with it. We have nothing to do with it. And there is a God.
Again, see, okay, we're getting into. Let's try to pin you down on one topic. Willie, ma'am. Okay, let's try to. Let's make this a dialogue. I want to try to pin you down on just one topic at a time, okay?
Sure.
First off, the objection that, first off, there are a lot of people who do kind of object to the compulsory reciting of the pledge as well, but that's a different topic.
Sure.
The problem with reciting the prayer in the school out loud is that a school is not a church. In a church, you have one group of people belonging to one particular religion or a denomination of that religion, going there of their own free will for the purposes of engaging in that worship that denomination or that religion engages in. School is a public building in which many different people of many different creeds come together. And one prayer isn't going to cover all the beliefs of all those people. And so you're immediately faced with the problem of, if you have this recited verbally out loud over a loudspeaker prayer, well, whose prayer is it going to be? You have 50 people in that room, maybe 4 or 5 religions represented, or maybe even
maybe
less,
no religion represented.
Among
unbelievers.
Like 4 or 5, as well as maybe some unbelievers. And whose prayer will get said? Or are you going to say everybody's prayer, which would take an hour or 2, and then the whole school day is shot? It's just not a thing that you can, logistically, it's just not doable, okay? And it's simply not appropriate. It's just not appropriate for, people who belong to one faith, to be compelled to sort of, if not participate, just have to, be present if they don't wish to be, while other faiths' religious practices or prayers are being read. It's just, a school is not a house of worship. It's where you go to learn. It's reading, writing, arithmetic. Send the kids home. Let the parents take care of the religious instruction.
I mean, that's all right. That's your opinion, but...
well, I mean, do you think that the government has the right to impose a religious...
The government doesn't have the right to have the kids to stop their breath. This is the topic I'm trying to say. Don't stop your breakfast just because you want to say the pledge of allegiance, to the flag of the United States. Well, I'll say, what does the flag have to do with it?
Okay.
Don't impose on the kids to have to get up and say, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
Well, anyway.
That's it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean.
Nice evening.
Okay, we appreciate your call. And, of course, we do want to point out that, it's the position that I stated was not just my opinion. I mean, that is the law of the land. It's this document here, Constitution of the United States, makes it very clear. Can't be done, okay? Just, whatever you think, opinions, schmopinions, okay? It's, the Constitution says that you cannot have a government or congressional endorsement of or prohibition against religious practice. And what you would have, contrary to what, what was interesting about Willie was that, she when I asked her, well, do you think the government has the right to impose? She said, well, of course not. And this is what the school prayer supporters don't seem to understand, is that when you have these out loud recitations that are mandated by the school, that's what you have. You have government interference.
Right. And I mean, obviously, not everyone is going to feel comfortable with that. And if you choose to speak out against it, I think the people who want prayer in schools would say, well, if you don't want to do it, you don't have to. Nobody's making you do this. But I disagree with that. I think that, especially in Palestine, Texas, most recently, I think about students there who may not believe or may not be sure about what they believe, and to hear that on a loudspeaker, it's just unconscionable to me how anybody could say that that's not forced. It doesn't allow for anybody to speak up and say, I don't believe this. I don't want to participate in this.
And because if you do, what happens to you?
Right, you're shunned and called a devil worshiper.
Right. So
or whatever.
Yeah, just it's, there's really no way you can spin it, positively. I mean, and again, students individually of their own accord have the right any time of the day or night in a school, to pray till they're blue in the face, and that's the way it ought to be. And just keep it off the loudspeakers, that's all. All right, we're going to go on to Max on line 1. We'll just keep the calls flowing. Hello, Max, you're on the air.
How you doing?
We're good.
Max.
What's up?
Oh, I've been waiting for a while. My phone's battery is dying.
I am so sorry.
No problem. Let's get to it,
Okay.
Yeah.
All-powerful, can count every grain of sand, every blade of grass. It's done. He already did that. The human mind can't do that, so why do we attempt to do that?
Well, slow down a bit.
No, I'm just a second. I'm giving all rights to yours and all your atheists. I'm saying people think they can define all-powerful. No, human beings can't do that. We can't imagine. It will blow our own vast human mind apart trying to comprehend all-powerful power.
Okay.
It's incomprehensible.
Okay,
and
so
now we have.
So why then even care about it if it's incomprehensible?
Well, we have lizards shapeshifting as human beings called the bushes, trying to perpetuate lies and giving us, arguments such as separation of church and state, and soon we're going to have a number of the beast, someone who thinks he's a savior and poses as the new God, the new Lord, and then we will realize that the church is all ballyhoo. I'm glad
you're kind of. Are you a Philip K. Dick fan by any chance, or something?
No.
All right.
I think
well,
you should
listen.
In search of Odinism. I'm a fan of Odin.
Did you have a question?
Yes.
Yeah.
You are very intelligent, and how do you feel about the thought of the bush and over in England with the Windsors, which isn't their real name, aren't really human beings. Remember Native Americans talking of shape-shifting? They're not human beings. They're aliens. They can shape-shift. And I'd like to hear some respect. The people who are laughing.
Well,
You're a lunatic.
Lunatic. What shall I say? But lunacy is a confusion of the understanding.
You're a lunatic idiot.
See you later, Max. Yeah, Max, you must have wonderful crack in your neighborhood, but yeah, that just started off and spinning and just went nowhere from there. That was a really bizarre.
But thanks for your call.
Yes. Yeah, as Jeff pointed out, your battery's not the only thing that's running down. What a trip. That was, okay.
But thanks for your call.
Yeah, that was awesome. Okay, you always got to have one like that. Okay, well, let's see what John has to say about that. John on 2.
Hey.
Hey, how you doing? What'd you think of our friend Max there?
Max is right on, bud.
Okay.
Max knows about the bushes and the shape-shifting satanic aliens.
Okay.
But I wanted to talk about separation of church and state.
Okie doke.
And, Jesus, even in the Catholic Bible, which has a lot of like authoritarian propaganda in it, Jesus spoke of separation of church and state. Much less the Gnostic Gospels, which are more accurate.
Mm-hmm.
So, fundamentalists who believe that, they're fighting for Jesus, if they're, trying to do school prayer, football prayer, or whatever it is, prayer of the week, they're just mistaken. And so.
All right, well, yeah, Jesus does speak out in the Gospels, right, about, the hypocrites are the ones getting out there in public, blah, blah, blah. But, it's regardless of what Jesus may or may not have said, okay, this isn't really a religious question. It's a legal question, okay? We have a Constitution. The Constitution makes it abundantly clear. The government and its institutions cannot play favorites with one faith over another and endorse one particular religious faith over another, and at the same time, it cannot prevent private citizens privately from practicing whatever they want to practice. So regardless of what Jesus may or may not have said about separation of church and state.
Well, my point is there's a lot of people take Jesus and they turn him, twist it around to...
well, sure they do, but that happens, every religion has that.
And fundamentalism, no matter what religion it is devil worship in disguise. And that's the truth, man. They believe in violence, they believe in death. They don't believe in God. They have faith in bombs.
Wow.
I mean, so it's just what I'm saying is the fundamentalists are back asswards. And I want to say one other comment about something that was said about deism and Thomas Jefferson. And you spoke about deism as if it was a religion, and deism was a...
not so much, no.
Well, you called it a religion.
Well, I didn't mean... Well, it's not a religion in that it doesn't have practices. There's
the reason I'm saying this is because there's a lot of, and we will hear a lot of people say that Thomas Jefferson wasn't a Christian, he was a deist. Thomas Jefferson was a Protestant. This country was formed by white Protestant men.
Okay, are you sure about that?
We need to get over that fact and just accept it.
Well, because I actually have some...
Sorry, but that's not a fact.
I have some quotes here from Thomas Jefferson that throws a little cold water on that.
Okay, what is it?
Okay, well, here's one that he wrote in a letter to Baron von Humboldt in the year 1813. He says, the Christian God can easily be pictured as virtually the same God as the many ancient gods of past civilizations. The Christian God is a three-headed monster, cruel, vengeful, and capricious. If one wishes to know more of this raging three-headed beast-like God, one only needs to look at the caliber of people who say they serve him. They are always of two classes, fools and hypocrites. So, in a review of...
Yeah, that doesn't mean wasn't a Protestant.
Well, wait a minute. If he's calling the God that he himself worships a monster?
You don't understand the progressive mindset that can accept differences,
Wait a minute. No, the question here is...
There are all kinds of beliefs within... You've got a lot of people call you tonight who say they're Christians, and they got more of an open mind than you, who are supposed to be an atheist.
Hey, look, I'm just reading what Jefferson himself wrote. I can't imagine why the man would call the God that... If he's a Christian... Sir,
it meant he was not a Protestant.
Wait, Max, hang on. No, I'm sorry, John. I'm sorry, John.
Right.
If you're saying that Jefferson was a Protestant, then he would have worshipped the Christian God. So why would he have called the God that he himself worshipped a three-headed monster?
I'll tell you this. I'll call you back next week because I'm going to find out what church Jefferson belonged to. Everybody who's ever been the president of the United States was a white Protestant man. except one, and that was a Catholic.
I think you're incorrect on that,
but please call us next week.
We'd
like to hear that.
Get your facts together.
What about the space lizard?
Yeah, we'll see you. We'll see you later. Right? Take care. All right, bye, John.
They are coming on.
Yeah, this is toward the end of the last 20 minutes of the show. We're getting the phone calls.
Oh, speaking of.
Okay, let's go.
Speaking of lizards, well, not exactly lizards. How about slugs?
Speaking of lizards, yeah.
That
would be appropriate at this time.
Dave Barry, great humorist for Miami Herald and nationwide well-known humorist author. Has a lead story this week, following the slime trail to scientific breakthroughs. Our lead story, brought to our attention by alert journalist Claire Martin, is an exciting robot concept invented by Dr. Ian Kelly of the University of West England. Dr. Kelly is trying to solve a major problem with today's robots, which is that they need human help to function. Eventually, they run out of power and somebody must replace their batteries. Now, how can he resolve this problem? Well, we're not making this up. Catching slugs and using them as fuel. Dr. Kelly calls his invention...
Works for me.
Yeah. I'm telling you, Dr. Kelly calls his invention Slugbot.
Sweet.
Of course, this basic...
I think there's a market.
Yeah, I think so too. Now, this basic, according to Dave Barry, of course, the basic concept is not new. The French have been converting snails into energy for centuries. Okay. But the French are, for the most part, human, whereas Slugbot is purely a mechanical device.
Part, yeah.
It looks kind of like a power mower with a long robot arm.
Does Slugbot do anything particularly, or just...
Slugbot gets more slugs, and he converts them to energy.
Does
that
he
is
now?
his purpose.
And is this going to be like the thing that just terrorizes OPEC and like,
I don't know.
To drop our oil prices because the slug mobiles are really picking up there.
If we could get Dr. Kelly's website, that would be good. You can go check it out for yourself at www.ias.uwe.ac.uk/go-to.html.
That's funny. Okay.
And one other, I've just got to read the clincher from Dave Barry's article. So there you have it. At long last, scientists have found a way. Oh, sorry, I'll have to back up a second.
Yeah.
He's got another item about how frog scientists at UCLA are studying the brilliant-thighed dart poison frog.
Okay.
And these scientists wish to observe what happens when a male brilliant-thighed dart poison frog attacks another male. They tried playing a recording of a frog call, but this did not cause real frogs to attack. So they built, you guessed it, a robot frog,
I'll tell you,
which sits on a fake log with a speaker in it. The scientists report that real frogs attack the robot, apparently fooled by the fact that it has a realistic-looking inflatable throat sac made from a condom. And so there you have it, according to Dave Barry. At long last, scientists have found a way, using condoms, to make poison frogs angry. I know. Dave Barry says,
I feel, poor guys. Yeah.
I know I speak for all humanity when I say to the scientific community, by way of sincere gratitude, please stop. So I just had to share that.
Yeah. I wonder if you can get grants for that.
Probably
you got this fake frog. And
Right.
Whatever.
More calls.
Yeah. We're down to 7 minutes, and we'll take line 1. Badoom. Howdy do. How you doing?
Hey, Manda.
Hey.
Hi.
I'm on.
Manda, how are you?
I just wanted to say, somebody said that the Constitution was made by white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. Well, no, it was based on documents that were done by the Native Americans who were not Christians. And we have the letters from the framers of the Constitution. But what I want to know to those people who defend prayer in school is, how are you going to defend the confidentiality of religion? The Native American religion was destroyed by having children have to put their hands together. When that Islam child bows down facing to Mecca, when that Native American child takes out a bit of feather, how are you going to keep that from being a situation like what the Taliban was trying to do, making people of other religions wear different colors? It's divisive.
It is.
Prayer in school can't have a nice face on it because it does lead to people getting beat up.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, that's it. And as I pointed out earlier on in the show, it takes away a parent's right to supervise their children's religious education, or should they choose to have that, and
Right.
it puts it in the hands of the government.
Absolutely.
And we all know what a good job the government does, running all the stuff it already tries to run.
Well, a lot of folks defend this, saying, well, we've got a local majority, so we're confident that since we're all Baptists, we'll have a Baptist prayer. And since we're mostly Baptist, it's fair because it's the rule by the majority. Well, the whole hype about this Constitution is it protects all minorities,
Yeah.
no matter what their size.
Yeah. Well, they talk about when they criticize civil libertarians, generally speaking, who are the folks who go on the against prayer in school side, as being intolerant towards the they play the victim card for themselves, as if they're the victims of intolerance. What they don't realize is, okay, tolerance can be roughly defined as a situation in which the majority in a particular group sets aside some of its concerns and desires out of respect for minorities who don't have, as strong a voice in a particular community, but who deserve to have their rights respected at the same time. It's not tolerance when the minorities are forced to flop on their backs like submissive puppy dogs and allow themselves to be beaten into submission by the majority. That's not what tolerance is. So, so that's that's what burns me up the most is when I hear, the arch conservatives and the Republicans and the people on the Christian right going, oh, well, there's so much intolerance towards us, poor pity, woe is us. I think that's just really, really offensive. But anyway, anything else for us, Manda?
Well, just this. My last thing.
Yeah.
If a democracy is two wolves and a sheep voting what's for dinner, the Constitution is the thing that says it ain't going to be the sheep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's
excellent.
Take care,
that's our
Mary.
quote.
Bye, Martin.
Yeah, thanks a lot. That's our quote for the day, I think. Very nicely done. Okay, I think we have time for one more, so we'll talk very quickly to Phil and see what he has to say. I don't think we'll be able to get to Andre today. I'm very sorry about
Andre.
that. Try us next week. We're here every Sunday, 4:30. Hello, Phil?
Hello.
Hi, thanks for waiting.
That's fine. I just wanted to jump in real quick about George Bush and his what I perceive to be his disingenuous attitude towards Christianity. I believe that George Bush is in fact not as Christian as he would have us believe. I can point to several things that went on during the primaries and most recently, I mean, his past, even since college, that would indicate that he is in fact not really a true Christian, and basically he struck a deal with the religious right to help him get his ass in the White House.
Yeah. Mary, do you have a response to this?
Go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to say really quickly. Personally, the shouting match and the fisticuffs that go on when one group of Christians gets angry at another group of Christians who's doing things embarrassing and saying, oh, well, those guys aren't true Christians or what have you, that's really not much of an interest to us. I agree that he's pandering, and I agree that he's using his connections with the religious right and with various powerful voting blocs to get in, and so he is being using his religion in that regard. Whether or not he's a true Christian, personally, I think that's up to Christians to decide what they want to do. That's immaterial to us. The fact of the matter is that he is promoting programs and policies that I think are blatantly against the word of the Constitution, and needs to realize that, and realize that there are people out there who say, hey, can't do that.
Well, that was my point, is that even after the World Trade Center and Pentagon disaster, he went before the American people in a joint session of Congress, and basically what he said, I think I can even quote him, he said that when it comes to the matters of facing down evil, a.k.a. Osama bin Laden, God does not take a neutral stance on these issues. So I guess it's onward Christian soldiers, and I guess we're just going to have to compare notes with our Jewish members of the Navy SEALs and Special Forces.
Yeah, it's very convenient for, Osama bin Laden is over there on the other side of the world saying God's on my side. George Bush is on this side of the world saying no, God's on mine, and it's a big mess. So,
okay.
Well, we appreciate your point of view and thank you for your call.
Thank you.
And you take care. And all right, in our last minute or so, I just want to remind everyone. Well, first off, thank you so much for being on the air today, Mary. There's that one caller that we had that I kind of, I couldn't put my finger on what was bugging me about it, so I had to think myself through. So anyway, but I tried, hopefully, Russell, to avoid going into windbag mode today so much. Now we're going through our Mary here, our fine co-host candidate, one of our three. And over the next 2 weeks, we'll have David Price and Ashley Perrion back on to sort of do the thing, at which time, at the end of it, we'll have at the atheist-community.org. David Clark, I'm so sorry. Not David Price, my mistake. We'll have the voting thing up on the web, so feel free to everybody to separate into little camps and maybe we'll have Celebrity Deathmatch on there or something like that. But anyway, great show. Thanks to our studio audience, everyone coming out. Thanks to our crew.
Thanks to everybody who called.
And see us next week, 4:30. Christians,
we don't hate you. We just